Hello, my name is Peter Jensen. I work for Fire and Rescue New South Wales. I'm also a proud Aboriginal man, a Didge You person from Marpoon. I was born and raised on Didge country in Atherton Tablelands, far north Queensland. One of the stories that I'm going to share with you today is a story about how we share the same country, but we share very different history. When my grandfather returned from the war, he was sent back to St. Paul's mission, to all the rules of the mission also. So you're pretty much asked to go to the toilet, you were told where you worked, you were managed by the mission, you couldn't marry who you wanted to marry. In 1945, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people weren't even counted as human beings. That meant that if crimes were done against you, there was no process for you to have justice for yourself and your family, which was terrible times. My grandfather knew that he wanted more for his family and that he deserved more, and when he accepted to do the exemption of Aboriginality, it meant that he was forbidden to speak his language. It was meant that he couldn't hang around with Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who didn't have the exemption. It meant that he pretty much denounced his Aboriginality, and he had to do that, and it wouldn't have been something that he'd done easily to bring his family forward. The Australian government signed my grandfather into a contract to build the railways from Queensland and New South Wales and over to Western Australia. That meant that he got to leave the Torres Strait. It meant that he wasn't under mission law anymore and that he was entitled to pay. My grandfather worked in the railways for 15 years. Each week, when it was payday, the Queensland government confiscated 2/3 of their wage, which is now known as the stolen wages. It meant that we were doing the same work as the people next to us, except we weren't entitled. And that had repercussions for us. It meant that Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people lived in poverty. It meant that they couldn't buy parcels of land and that they couldn't purchase houses and they couldn't spend money on the structure of their families. This had a huge impact on Aboriginal people today. It's a story that breaks the hearts of their grandchildren, people like myself. But this isn't about an us and them. It's about creating empathy and understanding that the only journey forward is together, and that we all have our part to play here and today about moving forward as one in unity with empathy and love and respect. So thank you very much for listening to my story.